Now we will look at question 11 to question 15. Question 11 says, the table below shows the value of income elasticity of demand for three goods X, Y, and Z over the time period. From the data in the table, it may be concluded that an increase in consumer income would lead to, and there's the options there, A, B, C, and D. Income elasticity of demand measures the proportional change in quantity demanded of a good with respect to the proportional change in income. If we have a positive value for income elasticity of demand, it means that as income rises, the consumption of this good rises as well. So we can see for good X and Y, we have a positive value, which means that as income rises, you consume more of these goods. Likewise, as income falls, you consume less of these goods. However, Z has a negative value for income elasticity of demand. This means that as my income rises, I will demand less of this good. So we can see for good X and Y, these are normal goods, and good Z is an inferior good. So from the table, it can be concluded that an increase in consumer income would lead to an increase in X, an increase in consumption of Y, and a decrease in consumption of Z. And then we look down these and see which ones are right. A is a decrease in demand for good Z only, which is correct. So the answer for question 11 is A. Question 12 says, which one of the following is the reason why public goods are supplied by the government? A public good is non-excludable and non-rival. Non-excludable means that you cannot exclude consumers from consuming this good, and this is why we have a big problem of free riding with public goods. And non-rival means that the consumption of the good does not decrease the amount available for other individuals. So that means the answer for this question is A. Sellers of the good or service are unable to prevent consumers from enjoying the benefit without paying. It is non-excludable, which is why we have individuals that free ride. Question 13. Price elasticity of supply in an industry is likely to be elastic when A. Firms have limited stocks of raw material. That means it's likely to be more inelastic, because if they've got limited stock, they cannot respond to an increase in price by producing more because they have a limited stock. B. There are high barriers to enter in an industry. If there are high barriers to enter in an industry, then new firms cannot enter the industry and produce more, which means that as there's fewer firms, there's fewer spare capacity maybe, which means that the elasticity of supply will likely be very inelastic. C. Production involves the use of high-skilled labour. We can't really say too much about this because we don't know about the supply of high-skilled labour. And D. Firms operating below full capacity. If firms are operating below full capacity, it means that they can easily increase the amount that they are producing. So if the price increased, they would easily be able to produce more. So the answer for this question is D. Question 14. Which one of these is a function of the market mechanism? A. Maintaining stable prices between different markets. The market mechanism may not necessarily do this. If there are large shifts in supply and demand, prices can fluctuate wildly between markets, so it's not A. B. Eliminating shortages of goods by allowing the market price to fall. This is wrong because actually the opposite would happen. If there's a shortage of a good, it would be rationed out to consumers by the price rising quite dramatically. C. Achieving an equitable distribution of scarce resources. The market mechanism fails to look at equitability, and it does lead to a great amount of inequality. So it's not this one either. So it must be D. Providing incentives for firms to produce goods to make a profit. And that's correct. Because if there is a higher price in a market, it sends a signal, provides an incentive, and new firms will enter this market and produce this good in order to make a profit. So the answer is D. Question 15. The table below shows how the total output of a factory changes as the number of workers employed changes. Referring to the data in the table, what happens to labour productivity as the number of workers increases from 100 to 500? Labour productivity, A remains constant, B falls over the whole range, C rises at first and then falls, or D falls at first then rises. So we've got total output and the number of workers in the table. To work out output per worker, we do the total output divided by the number of workers. So we see that for 100 workers we produce 1,000 units. So we do 1,000 units divided by 100, which gives an output per worker of 10. We do the same for 2,500 units, or 200 workers. So it's 2,500 divided by 200, which is 12.5, which is an increase. Then we look at when we have 300 workers. So we do 600, which is our total output, well, 6,000, which is our total output, divided by 300, which gives us an output per worker of 20. We do this for 400 workers, which is 17.5 output per worker, and 500 workers, which is an output per worker of 16. So we see that it rises as we move from 100 workers to 300 workers, and then falls when we move from 300 workers to 400 and 500 workers. So the answer is C. Labour productivity rises at first and then it falls.